The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan. My name's Chad Himes, one of your hosts of this podcast, joined as I always will be by the brilliant Jillene Snell. Say hello to everybody, Jillene.
Hi, Chad. Good to be back.
It's great to have you. We are continuing our journey through the 15-Point Plan. Now, our first 15 episodes are going to be taking you through the 15 points of the 15-Point Plan. So don't feel badly when I cut Jillene off because she's just so excited about some of these topics, because we will come back to each topic and go deeper for you. Yet we want to help you make the 15-Point Plan work for you. Today, Jillene, we are going to talk about
hydration.
Oh, and I can see the smile across the room. You are a little too excited to talk about hydration.
I am. I feel like we could do an hour or 2 or 3 on this.
Which is why I'm reminding everyone we'll go deep in the future and really dive in. Yet we want to give you a general understanding of hydration. We want to give you a tip for that actionable item you can take away from today. We want to explain why hydration is so important to you, and then show you how to earn that check mark to move your energy in the right way each day. Jillene, start us off with some stats about water and us.
Some of these stats people might already know, but I think some of them are surprising. It's like, what portions of the body are made up of what percent of water? And I just chose a few of the top ones. So the human body is roughly made up of 60% or more of water.
So basically 2/3 of me is water.
2/3.
Amazing.
Yep. A little bit more in a man than a woman, actually. And then the brain is made up of at least 75% or more water. That one might be a little less surprising. And blood is made up of 85% or more water. And the kidneys, which we'll talk about briefly today, is 79% or more water.
I love when you get exact. You didn't say 80. It's 79.
79.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about the kidneys, Jillene, before we dive into more on hydration.
Well, just as an example, the kidneys can remove 20 to 28 liters. You might have to convert that to ounces of water per day, unless you're Canadian like me. But they cannot expel more than about 1 liter per hour.
Interesting.
So it's important to know the function of the kidneys and what that does for us. We'll talk about that more here in a second.
Okay. I got to keep Jillene. She is so excited about hydration, folks. You can't imagine somebody as excited about drinking fluids as Jillene is today.
I've got my foot on the gas pedal, but also because I've experienced a lot of the negative side effects of not drinking water. And I've experienced the positive aspects of it, especially recently in the research that I've done for this podcast.
Great. And let's get to some of that shortly. Let's let everybody understand why hydration is so important to you. The number one reason to be hydrated is to control the temperature of your body, Jillene. Right? I mean, that's why everybody drinks more in the summer. It's just our body's natural way to cool down. What's the next reason we need to focus on hydration?
It's cellular function. So water supplies our cells with nutrients and oxygen through the water that we're drinking. And essentially, we want to have more hydration than we have loss of hydration in our cells.
Got it. And then the third reason, it's just fun and we're all going to be giggling just to say it. So
it's so fun, but it's so important, especially if we're not eating or drinking perfect, right? That water is going to help us do waste removal in the body through urination, through perspiration, and Chad, bowel movements.
Yeah, let's just say it. It's peeing and it's pooping, right? I mean, we know the audience is out there and wants to just laugh at it, and their children are probably listening along
Might as well.
Everybody pees, everybody poops. So all right, let's talk more about this. Why is it so important overall? Those are the 3 key functions of hydration. Jillene, talk to me about why hydration is so important.
Well, if you're to think about the brain and the kidneys having such a large function in the body, water is life, and our organs are life, and they coincide together. And the brain and kidneys have the highest percentages of waters, which is really important for cognitive function.
Okay, so the number one thing is getting our head going in the right direction. What's number 2?
Number 2 is that our skin contains approximately 30% of water, and it's what gives skin its plumpness We both like that word today.
Yes.
Elasticity and resiliency.
Yeah, and you can tell when you drink more water that people will say that. They'll see it in your face almost immediately.
Yeah, and there's actually a fun study that's done by doctors and triage nurses to see if a patient is dehydrated. If you pinch a fold of your skin on the back of your hand between your thumb and your forefinger right here, Chad, you can pinch that right now.
Doing it?
After a few seconds, then release it and see if your skin bounces back or if it stays flattened.
Yeah, I'm hydrated.
So
I'm hydrated. That
Chad
went
is
right
good
back.
to go today. I think I need some work. I should probably drink some more water today.
So that kind of leads to the third one here, Jillene, which is lubrication, right? It keeps our joints moving, keeps our body moving, keeps our infection levels down because our organs are doing what they need to do for water. And then what's that fourth thing that keeps hydration as such an important thing?
Well, it improves sleep.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if my wife would agree. I don't know if Nita would agree with that. She has an issue. She wakes up a bunch of times to pee because if she's so hydrated.
Okay.
Okay. But otherwise it improves sleep?
It does. And you might not want to drink 2 or 3 glasses before bed. But if we're consistent at drinking during the day, then we don't need that overload of water before we go to bed at night.
Okay.
Do remember, though, we need it through the day because when we go to bed, those that sleep 8 to 10 hours a night, that's 8 to 10 hours of not drinking water.
That is a great point and great reminder right there that it's
So the
almost
day
half
is
our
prepping.
day, a third to a half our day, we're not drinking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to be talking about sleep on an upcoming episode. So, Jillene, there's this term called hypohydration, which sounds really cool. Sounds like awesome hydration. It's actually not, though. Can you tell me what is hypohydration?
So hypohydration is actually a point where your body gets where there's negative water balance in the body. It's a water deficit in your body.
Isn't that dehydration? Isn't that when I'm dehydrated?
Yeah. And you know what? And we'll use dehydration as the word on this podcast.
Okay.
But dehydration is actually the process of losing water from the body.
Okay, so dehydration is actually losing the water. Hypohydration is too late, I've lost it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so hypohydration is where your body is in a state where there's a deficit and it's going to cause some negative side effects. And
Tell
we'll
me
talk
one
about
of those.
those.
No, tell me one of them right now. Hit me with one.
Headaches, Chad.
Ooh, okay.
Dizziness, brain fog, lethargy, irritability.
Shut up, I don't know what you're talking about.
This is an interesting one. Sunken eyes,
Yes, you've seen that. in people.
dry or wrinkled skin. We just talked about that recently. Maybe a fast heartbeat.
Okay.
Those are some side effects of hypohydration. And actually, what's interesting about this is that if your body loses only 2% of its water, it can cause a certain level of hypohydration in some of these symptoms.
That's
Only
not a lot.
2%.
That's not a lot at all.
Considering our bodies are made up of 60% or more of water,
Yep.
and only 2% loss can cause symptoms like that, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Sure does. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to do some just bad math. I don't have Bob from the Win Make Give podcast with us. He's the math major on here, but that's like a pound. Like if I notice that the scale went down a pound, I've probably lost more than 2% body water.
Exactly.
Interesting. It's really easy to happen. Now, what about alcohol? Because I know people want to tell me, well, Chad, I drink wine. Isn't that like I'm hydrating or something like that? Where does alcohol fit into this hydration conversation, Jillene?
It's certainly going to cause dehydration the moment that we're ingesting it. We know it tastes really good. There's some things we can do prior to drinking alcohol if we have to make sure that we have some extra hydration prior to.
Okay.
Don't skip that day of drinking water. Drink a little extra. Obviously, it's going to carry the waste out of your body. And alcohol is a waste. It's a diuretic, and it will cause hypohydration. And that's because what alcohol does to our bodies is it causes us to urinate more, and it releases the hydration from our body. So it's going to make us pee more.
Right. And it's also therefore going to give us that fog of thought. It's going to give us those headaches that come with it. It's all of that that explains that feeling that we get, almost the euphoric that comes with the being drunk if we drink too much. And it's because it's actually dehydrating, which is leading to those symptoms that you mentioned for hypohydration.
Right. And the reality of it is it's actually going to last for a while. It's not just an hour of that one drink. It's a couple hours or 3 hours or 5 hours.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in sleep when we talk about it. Yet alcohol is one of those things that might help put you to sleep, but it's definitely not keeping you asleep. And it's because of these factors that you're mentioning right here. Okay, I want to give everybody a little study. So if you're not driving right now, pull out pen, pull out paper. I'm going to give you like a algebraic equation, and it's going to confuse you, yet follow through, even if you need to go back and listen to this again as we're going through this, okay? Here's what I want everybody to do. I want you to get on the scale before you do some sort of exercise, okay? We'll talk about lots of types of exercise. We talked about movement in our last episode. But what I want you to do is before you're going to do an exercise session, go strip down and get on a scale and weigh yourself, okay? That weight is A in our equation here. Then what I want you to do is go exercise. Come back and immediately get on the scale again in the same attire you were wearing before, which should be nothing, and that's B. Now you calculate the difference, okay? A minus B equals C. Very easy and simple. Now, I want you to then convert the difference from pounds to ounces. Let me explain. I did this just this morning because I knew we were getting ready to record this. I got on the scale. I went and I got on my Peloton. I got off the scale after a 45-minute workout. I got back onto the scale, okay? I lost 3 pounds in the amount of time I was on the bike. So my difference would be C, would be 3. Now, I'm going to convert that to ounces, and every pound is 16 ounces. So I just take 16 and I multiply that by 3. Okay? Now, if you drank anything during your exercise, like I did, I had a bottle of water while I was on the bike. I was taking in water as well. That's going to become D in your equation. So you've got your difference in ounces as C, and you've got how much you put in your body as D during the exercise. Now I want you to figure out your sweat loss. Sweat loss is C plus D. So I lost 3 pounds, which if I do the math for you is 48 ounces of water, and I drank 24 ounces of water. So I add those together to figure out my total sweat loss during my workout. Then I divide by the number of minutes I worked out. So here's what I figured out. After I did the equation, I lose 1.06 ounces per minute while I'm exercising.
That's a lot.
Yes. My body is excellent at controlling its core temperature, so I sweat a lot to keep my temperature where my core wants it to be. Now I know, though, when I do exercise, if I'm going to do a run for an hour, I need 60 ounces of fluids to keep myself in a hydrated state.
And do you need that before you exercise or do you need that during exercise?
During the exercise. So now I know what to take with me when I go for a run.
Well, and it's the reason why athletes, they have those camelbacks, right? It's easy access to the water and they can do it frequently while exercising.
And what do you see if you're watching the NBA or the NFL when they call timeout? Immediately, someone's running up to them with a bottle of water and they're taking in some water.
Perfect example.
Right? They're sweating, they're taking it in. All right, so Jillene, water. Hydration equals water, right? I mean, that's where it should all come from. Where do I get this hydration from?
I think everyone assumes that hydration will come from simply drinking water. I think as a rule of thumb, we should always prioritize water as the number one means of hydration.
Yes.
And water without additives and without added sugars and those types of things, just plain water, maybe a purified filtered water free of chlorine.
So soda doesn't count.
Diet Cokes, sodas does not count.
Got it.
Carbonated waters, that there's some debates to that you might read in your research. It's just good as a rule of thumb to focus on your priority being water, and you could add a little lemon or you could add some fruit to it, but you're also going to get hydration from what you eat. Actually, 20% of your hydration can come from what you eat. And an example of that would be a cucumber. It could be celery. It could be tomatoes. There's lots of other foods that are part of our daily intake of water that maybe we don't think about or we're not aware of, but we're actually doing every single day.
So amazingly, for those of you who are talking fasting, which we'll dive into deeper when we get to nutrition going deep, think how much hydration you're missing out on by not eating. Because so much of the hydration actually can come from the foods that we take in. But Jillene, I don't want to only drink water all day. Water's boring. What else can I drink or what can I do with my water so that it makes it a little easier to get through this?
Well, I think the number one thing is pick what you love to drink out of. And then you can add what you like to that bottle. So pick a bottle that you love to drink out of. If you're exercising, maybe it is a Camelback. But if you're at the office or you're at home, what is going to be your easiest source of water where you enjoy drinking it and you can drink a higher volume of it? For me, I like the Spout. I've got one right here in my Win-Mate Give mug.
Still boring, though. I mean, can I put lemons in it? Can I put strawberries in it?
I'm getting there, Chad.
All right.
I'm getting there. And so you can add things like lemons and strawberries and I would say whole foods. If you can focus on whole foods, that's the best way. If you get carbonated waters, canned waters, a lot of them have citric acids and natural sugars and flavors that will cause you to just stray away from drinking what's most important to your body. And you can add coffee and you can add tea, Chad. And both of those things have water in them, but it should not supplement necessarily the amount of ounces of water you're drinking in a day.
Okay. So now one of the things that's going to happen on this podcast is we're not going to agree on everything, Jillene. It's just going to happen this way. And it's making Jillene almost like nervous to know that we're not going to agree on everything.
I'm sweating right now, and now I'm going to have to replenish that by drinking extra water.
So let's just give everybody, though, an ideal day for their hydration. Okay. What would be an ideal day to help people hit their hydration goals, which we'll finish this episode with what that actually
Number
is.
one, you wake up, you haven't drank water for 8 to 10 hours necessarily. So the first priority is drinking a glass of water. You know what you could do too? Make it a habit before picking up your cell phone. Say, before I pick up my cell phone, before I shower, I drink water. So it becomes part of your morning routine.
Okay. What else?
At the halfway mark in the day, if you can hit half of your daily intake of water, whatever that goal is to you, that's a good checkpoint because we don't necessarily have awareness every 10 minutes of how much water we're intaking. But if we create a starting habit of checking in halfway through the day of the number of ounces, we should be at that halfway mark.
And here's one of these things Jillene and I are going to disagree on, folks, and we'll debate it in a future episode. I'm going to tell you, tie your intake of water to the meals. They're triggers that happen through the day. Have water at your meal points. It'll help you stay on path. I know we don't agree.
The only thing I agree on with that is the fact that it can be part of a weight loss plan because it will make your body feel fuller and you might eat less food. That I will agree.
All right, so let's finish this episode with the takeaway. We want to make sure, as we told you, every episode you walk away with something, and we want to show you how you can earn that check mark on the 15-point plan, which you can get by visiting 15pointplan.com. You can get our tracking sheet for yourself there. Jillene, how much water should everybody drink a day?
Half of our body weight in ounces every single day.
Okay, folks, figure out your weight, cut it in half. You should be drinking that much water every day. That should be your daily goal.
There's 2 reasons for us to get on the scale, to figure out daily intake and to figure out our sweat percentages with your calculation.
Correct. Don't get on the scale every day. That's a whole other issue when it comes to weight loss. There are reasons, though, to track it. And folks, here's the thing. For some of you, you're all of a sudden going to realize you need to take in 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 ounces of water, depending on what your personal weight is right now. And you're going to realize you don't take in close to that. Our challenge for you is add 8 ounces to what you normally drink every day purposefully, and every week add another 8 ounces and another 8 ounces. And it might take you a month. It might take you 2 months. It might just take you a week and you can jump right to it. Get yourself to a point where by dinner time's completion, you have hit half your body weight in ounces and can let your body relax before bedtime.
That's a great goal. And just knowing that if you're experiencing some of these symptoms like short-term memory loss or a decrease in reaction time, maybe you're moody or you have anxiety. The last year had a little bit of that, didn't it?
Sure did.
Just check number 1, am I drinking enough water? And if I'm not, what's the first change that I can make today and implement it today? Right
Excellent.
After this podcast.
Get drinking, folks, and drink the right stuff. We hope this episode ups your energy and takes you to the next level.
The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests. Consult your doctor before starting any diet or exercise program.